Hello, welcome into Holy Harlot episode 11. This is the sanctuary for the untamed and sacred. My name is Mary Lisa. I'll be your guide into the realms of embodied pleasure, divine feminine power, and the neuroscience of nervous system regulation. Here we merge mysticism and science because reclaiming your desire isn't just spiritual poetry, it's neurobiology. This is where we dismantle shame, rewire the stress conditioning in your brain and body, and awaken the ancient codes of pleasure that have always been yours. If you're ready to turn your body into a living portal, regulate your nervous system as an act of devotion, and step fully into your magnetic power, welcome. Don't forget, these videos are ad-free. Support the channel by becoming a member and know that I deeply appreciate your devotion. And if you're ready for your personal Holy Harlot awakening, comment Holy Harlot below and I will send you the details. Well, welcome in. Episode 11 is titled What the Darkness Taught Me. And I am here fully on the other side of some shitty times, honestly. And I have learned so much and I've integrated so much, but it was through the darkness. And basically the greatest thing that I learned was that me discussing the reality of what it's like to be a female healer, a Holy Harlot is about being honest and showing you the depth of my humanity so that it reflects in you and encourages you that, yeah, we got to dance through all this stuff and you're definitely not alone. So while I am going to say that I'm excited to share this with you, I'm also terrified. Putting out some of my less than prouder moments is obviously not my favorite thing to do. I still deal with bouts of perfectionism, of fear of intimacy and vulnerability. And being in the coaching and healing space, I never thought that that was okay for me to share. Basically, I didn't want you to know that I was human. And the more that I have kind of talked this out loud with other healers, other helpers, the more that I'm realizing, holy shit, talking about our humanness is the most spiritual thing for us to do. I'm definitely not a guru. I'm definitely not someone who is perfect and who has integrated all the lessons and won't need to go through the same lessons multiple times. I'm just showing up and offering what I can. And even in offering, I receive deeper connections. I receive more opportunities, more understanding of myself. So I'm just going to kind of tell you a little bit about what this summer was like for me and how I danced through it, how I came out of it, and also what I've learned. But I call this summer my summer of darkness. And I say that kind of as a gag because I gotta laugh a little bit about how intense it was for me. And it was definitely unexpected. I feel like most things that rock our foundation are. And it was the most transformative. And so just to set the stage, I had an amazing springtime. My business was flourishing. I made some amazing new friendships, and I had just launched Holy Harlot and was taking women through some amazing spiritual divine feminine codes of reclamation. And I got asked by two separate clients to do kind of like private retreat style healing and teaching. One was in the Dominican Republic and the next one was in Montenegro. And both were absolutely life-changing, just such beautiful experiences for me. And I was like, yay, thank you, Spirit. Everything's going so well. This is amazing. I had such a fun time. I quickly bonded with a female friend of mine, and we became seriously best friends, like FaceTiming multiple times a day, talking about the books we're reading, channeling spirit together, just laughing. And it was such a beautiful relationship. And this friend of mine also was leading people through plant medicine ceremonies. So we're getting closer, and I just love and adore this person. And so I fly out, and she takes me through my first mushroom ceremony, which I'm learning so much about, and which I learned was quite different than me just like taking some with friends or while painting, because you're laying down and it's dark and you're just meditating and you're watching the experience that the mushrooms take you on. And the mushrooms are a living consciousness, a mother, teacher. And so my intention for the ceremony was to become a more potent healer. And so the ceremony was beautiful. Oh my God, the imagery, it was so lovely. But then the next day, and my best friend at the time, the one who took me through ceremony, told me it's not about the journey, it's about the integration afterwards. So the next day I'm feeling really sensitive, and I'm starting to notice some patterning come up in myself that I hadn't seen in a long time. And we're at this concert, and I'm just feeling really vulnerable. Like I didn't want to be around people. I didn't know how to act. I felt really unsafe in my body. And now I know that that's kind of like the ceremony had shown, basically revealed to me what was in the way of me becoming a better healer. So long story short, over the next few weeks, I fall apart. I completely fall apart. My emotions are all over the place. I am so confused. I feel like the earth had shattered beneath me. And now I can see what had happened, where a lot of my masks had slipped. And I hate to say that, masks, right? But really, the version of Mary Lisa that needed to break away was the one that presents that everything's okay. The one that said, no, forget about me, how can I help you? The one that was the channeler, the deliverer of medicine. And so one of my main pain points is that I'm a healer so that I can have value to others, right? And that really got thrown to the wind. I was in the darkest days of my life since probably my eating disorder. And I was in such a dark moment. I felt like this friend was pulling away from me. I didn't understand what was going on. I was so confused. And she was supposed to help me integrate, but I could tell that she was mad at me. So I ended up calling her one day and being like, if you have space, I'm really struggling. And she basically said, okay, well, since you called me, I just want to let you know that I think that you're not who you say you are. You're a horrible friend, and I don't want to see you. I don't want you to be in my life. And that shattered me. That destroyed me, because this person was someone that said that they see me, they know me, they hold me, they can, and for me to show up with all of my darkness, all my broken pieces, and be like, hey, I'm really fucking struggling, I don't know what's going on. And for her to say, that's basically gross, and you're a fake, and I don't want you in my life, right? It was like my worst fear come to fruition. And, there's no medicine in blame. So these things happen to some of the most painful relationships are kind of end up being the most beautiful teachers. And basically, if I look at it from a spiritual lens and not the human, believe me, I've processed this with my friends. I've had space to be fucking angry. But basically what it showed me is that all of these things that are in the way of my heart, of my ability to love and heal. So my original intention with the medicine was to be a better healer. And what the medicine showed me is that I needed to become more vulnerable. I needed to shine brighter. I needed to show all the cracks in who I am as a human. Being human means being flawed, and there will be people that we come across who won't want to hold space for our reality. And I think that being someone who, that's my main function, is to hold space for people who need help. For someone not to be able to do that for me was like the confirming pain of my inner child, that I would be abandoned if I wasn't perfect. So the summer was very heavy. It was very much like I was processing rage and grief and just utter destruction, not only for myself, but through eons in my nervous system of women not being held, of women being destroyed for being vulnerable. And this was all, the medicine that I asked for unintentionally. And I remember telling my family and my friends here in Portland and my friend in Orange County, like, this is the darkest I've ever felt. I don't have anything to offer you. I'm just, hoping to grow into moss today. And what that did was it allowed people to connect with me. So while this one friend, kicked me while I was down, going through, I'm sure she was going through something of her own, but that made space for other people to show up in my life. And so lesson one that I learned was that everything goes. But in reality, a lot of us go through the Venus retrograde, the journey of Inanna. We ask for something deeper, something more whole, something more medicinal, and we get taken through those 7 gates of hell. At each gate of hell, something was stripped of the Princess Inanna, her clothes, her dignity, and finally her crown. And that's, the story of Venus retrograde, the movie of Barbie. They're all related. But that's what I went through. Everything was taken from me. This friend of mine, who also led me through ceremony, also had told me she was refiling my taxes for me back in April and kept telling me not to worry about it and stop worrying and don't check in on it. Like, you need to just trust. And come to find out, she never filed them. And I received a warrant in the mail. And in my panic of receiving a fucking warrant in the mail, I sent all my money to the IRS, thousands and thousands of dollars. And so not only did I lose a best friend, I lost all of my money. I lost all of my confidence. I felt like I lost all my intuition, all of my ability to discern. Like, these things were just stripped from me on my journey through hell. And so that was like the initiation phase. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've lost everything. Mary Lisa deleted, and I know now that that's not what happened. It was Mary Lisa liberated, but everything goes, right? Like, it was tower moment after tower moment after tower moment. And I've also learned to stop asking for such dramatic results in my life, because you ask and you receive. And that was also, I laugh because one of my friends even cracks up because she says that I ask for things that are too heavy. And I really was starting to see that at those moments in my life. I knew that I was going to make this a pivotal moment. I was not going to run from the experience of darkness. I was not going to avoid depression or try to bypass grief. I was going to sink into it. I was going to dive to the bottom of this lake and really just stir up what needed to be held. And as I'm learning more about the medicine of mushrooms, I'm understanding that it activates long old codes, generational ancestral stuff that has been buried in our DNA and our nervous system. So a lot of what I was feeling wasn't just from me, from this lifetime. And so I was kind of swimming in it, and I let my family members know, I let my friends know, like, this is the darkest I've ever been. I don't know if you want to be around me, because that was like my vulnerability. Like, if I showed people truly what was on the inside behind the perfectionist mask, I would probably scare them away. And yes, it did scare some people away, but the people that it didn't scare away, my family, my friends here in Portland, my friend down in Orange County, they really showed up for me and they nurtured me. And it was this really beautiful time. I have this special friend here in Portland who just she's like the most honest person I know, the most liberated. And she's like, to be honest, I'm terrified for you. I've never seen you so raw, and I'm here for it. And I think that was like the beginning of that healing for me. It was like, wow, yeah, I can be deep and I can be dark. And the power of community, the power of vulnerability will carry me through. And so what I learned from Holy Harlot was that I cannot avoid these feelings. Like, we come to Earth to experience the full gamut. And before I went into the mushroom ceremony, I told the mushrooms that I would like to become a better healer. And I laugh now because I can really, really see how Mother has helped me make that happen. Because delivering the medicine from a place of sanitization, of education, is way different than delivering the medicine from a place of embodiment. And that's what I'm doing now. I say that everything goes. The lesson is that we cannot both ask spirit for something and then try dearly to hold on to things that are not for us. And I like to somehow strangle things sometimes. And in the moment, it's hard to understand that when something is taken from us, it must be for our higher good. We cannot both ask for something and then cry when something is taken. Well, actually, you can. You can absolutely cry when something is taken, right? That's like, we're fully entitled to the reality of our emotions, but to come at it from a place of like, okay, I'm so sad and this feels so tragic, but where's the blessing? And what it was really doing when everything goes, it is clearing space. It is, raising the fields, and then all those ashes become the phoenix. But initially, when we're in that mess, it's very hard to see how the tower moment after tower moment can bless us. But when we can zoom out, when I was able to zoom out, I kept affirming, I kept blessing. I was like, if you're going to take this, then I just am programming into my nervous system that it must be for my benefit. So everything goes to make way. Lesson 2 was fear of the darkness. I really learned that when I'm in my darkness, right, it causes a lot of fear. It activates fear in others. I've always been, deep, a little Lana Del Rey, kind of sad girl writing poetry with too many thoughts and too much depth, or, and sometimes people are like, can't you just be positive? And, not I. It's not in my makeup to be the fairy floating around on the pink cloud all the time. And that is, for some people, for me, I like to explore the depths of what it really means to be a human. So I tell you all this because a few things that I've noticed is, one, we really don't know how to deal with people who are in grief, who are in sadness. We want to try to fix them. We want to try to correct them. Here's this tip. Did you see your morning sunlight? Here's this tip. Try eating saffron. Did you try a gratitude list? We want to fix people who are sad, who are in their darkness. But when we really remember that the darkness is the feminine, it is the great mother, it is the cosmos, the womb, it is the rebirth center. I think when we realize that, and we can hold ourselves there, we can hold other people in there, both ourselves and the others who are in that great cosmic womb can be birthed a lot quicker. We can be transformed quicker. What I'm seeing is that people are scared of the darkness. They think, the demons, or that we get trapped in these storylines of the darkness is bad. But what if the darkness was holding you in the amniotic fluid of creation? What if it was nourishing you to become the greatest, most beneficial light being that you can be? And when I very, very bluntly told everyone in my life, like, I'm fucked up, I have nothing to offer you, I'm feeling really dark, you don't want me out and about. Some people were like, okay, see you later, and others were like, let's go. Can I come over? Do you want to eat chips and drink wine, And this fear of the darkness to me is really an ingrained patriarchal fear of the female. We want everything to be light and sanitized, but the inherent being of the feminine energy, which is in men and women, is that we have to explore our darkness. We have to integrate these things in order to make ourselves more full. We can't always live half lit up. It's when we dive into those dark waters with our light that we then illuminate the waters. I know it's turning into poetry, but I think you're getting the picture. I learned that people were still really uncomfortable with my darkness, which meant that they were uncomfortable with their own. And it's really hard for me as a healer of profession to not analyze everything from that light, but I have this certain makeup that I know when I'm going through something, it's so that I can deliver it later to clients, to friends, to family. But some people can hold us and some people cannot. And either way, we have to be able to hold ourselves. And then we have to find the community that can also hold us. In fact, in one of the most recent Holy Harlot group calls, I showed the women the video clip from Midsummer, that kind of like horror cult film where she just found out her, I'll let you watch it, but she's devastated, she's crying, she's wailing, and all these women who she hates, part of this commune or religious or cult sect, they look her in the eyes and they start screaming with her. And then before you know it, like 20 women are undulating in a circle, wailing, wailing, wailing. And then the main character, it dissipates. And how beautiful, when we hold each other, when we allow ourselves the full magnetization process of feeling the emotion, it can be liberated so much more quickly. And there are so many goddess mythologies where if you get past the Greco-Roman sanitization of female goddesses, we really understand that many of the goddesses went through deep, torturous hardships and, acted out in anger. Demeter burned all of the food and crops when Persephone was taken from her, and that's not talked about a lot, like the innate rage that comes with devastation. And no male god was like, you shouldn't feel anger, or that's not right, you're gonna mismanifest for yourself. No, the whole experience of being human is absolutely necessary to our spirituality. It makes us deeper. It makes us more able. It makes us brighter. Lesson 3 that I learned was really related to the nervous system regulation. Because in Holy Harlot, first of all, I just want to say that when I channeled Holy Harlot and did all the neuro research for it, and made all 12 classes, I was really, how do they say it? Punching out of my weight class. Okay? Being a channel, which I've only just now understood, means that like I receive so many amazing codes. I deliver them to people. I like say the thing, but it doesn't mean I experienced it. It doesn't mean that I integrate it. So I channeled this fucking beautiful priestess material. And then this whole summer was about, Mary Lisa, we're asking you to live it out. And now I can look back and be like, holy shit, Holy Harlot works. But what I really learned was that in my deep grief, like if you think about grief and shame and sadness as a vibration, it's very dense, it's very heavy. And I realized that I didn't have access to certain things in that depth and in that heaviness because my nervous system was protecting itself. Sometimes it was hard to get out of the house. And I know a lot of this had to do with the medicine. The medicine absolutely took me through a lot of destroying what wasn't right for me anymore. It literally had to burn so much of me so that I could show up brighter. But I really felt the product of a dysregulated nervous system. I experienced doubt. I couldn't trust my intuition. I was like, how did all this happen to me? What's wrong? Am I plagued? Am I cursed? Am I doing something wrong? Is all of this unreal? I had to really make it less about the spirit world and make it more about like me finding safety in my body again. So it started with nonlinear movements, which we talk a lot about in Holy Harlots, because so much of what we feel is pre-verbal, right? If I went through this huge awakening process and I'm feeling the depth of all this despair and I'm like, it can't all be mine. It's not some, Mary Lisa lost all her money and lost a best friend. No, this was like eons of emotion. And so I just made it about, rocking myself. And I didn't let my brain think. I was like, brain, you're not allowed in here. I don't need you to analyze what's happening. I just need to rock myself back to safety. And I really used the codes of Holy Harlot, which is somatics, right? It's like, let your body be the guide. And so I would say, body, how do you want to move with this grief? And then I would just kind of tune in and let her move. And, within 5 minutes, I was like, oh, okay, I'm feeling a little bit better. And that was like the step one, well, maybe step one was like, hey, everyone, I'm dark and I need help. And some people were able to show up, community. And then step 2 was like how I held myself through those emotions. And it was through somatics. I was like, don't analyze, don't process, just feel. And I would move my body with it. And, but it really highlighted for me how a dysregulated nervous system does, over time, it leads to such incredible self-doubt. It leads to a lack of confidence, to outsourcing our wisdom, looking outside of ourselves for answers. It really showed me that there's a long-held standard within the generational and cultural nervous system that makes us want to hide when we're in pain rather than, share it with the people who know how to hold space. And in a culture that is sanitized emotionally, i.e., we only like happy, good feeling emotions, then we don't know how to deal or hold space for people who aren't feeling such great and happy emotions, when really all holding space means is not trying to fix. It means just listening, just being, just sharing. And there was a lot of me having to learn that through my nervous system program. And I used a lot of tuning forks, a lot of biofield tuning, just remembering that coherent vibration liberates patterns within the body. It bioactively illuminates the biolumens in the DNA that allows us to move through things, have access to higher consciousness and more elevated states of being. So I got to experience what an absolutely shut down nervous system felt like from ground zero. It was kind of like a mix of freeze, or it just was, yeah, I guess it was freeze. I was just kind of frozen. I didn't know which way was up. And so I kept it really, really simple for about a month. Number 4 is that imperfection is the bridge to connection. One of my greatest realizations over the past few years was that the more I share, the more I connect. And I saw in so many meditations and so many journaling sessions after this huge breakdown of mine that my inner child was basically just wanting to feel loved and connected to. And the way that I had programmed it in, little Mary Lisa was, okay, if I show people that I'm perfect and I want to be helpful and they don't ever have to worry about me, then I'll be loved. Well, as we crack through that, the reality is showing up as myself, knowing myself deeply so that if someone does pop in and say, nasty things about me or say that they can't be in my life anymore, that doesn't shake what I know about myself anymore. And so me bringing my imperfections first to the people that I trusted, and now as I'm trying to stumble my way into this story for you guys on the podcast, is that imperfection really does allow us to build community. And me putting on this idea that, I want to be perfect so that you guys feel safe enough and held enough is really just an injustice all around. And on social media platforms, it's really hard to show the depth of what's actually going on. And that's kind of why I started this podcast, was so that I could say more real things, talk about sex and pussy and, pleasure, but also just get entirely real with you that the person behind the healings, behind the programs, is actively living out these codes as well. And that when you do stumble, that you have a sister that's there with you that knows how to hold space and has actually been through it too. And so as I'm becoming more honest or vulnerable, right, I'm noticing anxiety in my body, right? So that's the old programming. And being erotic, like playing with erotic or eros energy, means that we push beyond those limits. We act anyways. So to be honest, what I'm feeling in my body right now as I'm trying to ground and I'm trying to be present is that I am uncomfortable talking about this stuff. I am uncomfortable putting my wounds out there. But erotic energy says, do it anyways, right? Take a chance, grow, share. And for as long as I've been in the social media world, probably only 1 out of 10,000 people ever say anything nasty to me. And obviously those 1 in 10,000 would stick with me longer, but now they don't even register on my radar. I'm growing in polarity the more that I let you know the depths of who I am. And it just really felt like a time for me to share more of that, because especially if you guys come into session, and Holy Harlot, we talk about everything. They know my business, I know their business, but I know that a lot of you out there trust me to hold you. And there's something really special about also letting you know that I trust you guys to hold me and see me in my realness as well. And that's how we're kind of building this new earth. That's how we're getting back to the wholeness of what it means to integrate our feminine, because it's community oriented, it's authenticity oriented, it's emotionally intelligent. And so here we are. That's what we're doing. We're building connections despite the sweat gathering on my brow. Lesson 5 for me this summer was that I don't need to struggle, I need to dance. For as quiet as my guides were being, especially when my nervous system was so in protective mode that I didn't have a lot of access to my guides, the few messages that I did channel from them were dance, dance, dance. And I'm like, bitch, I don't feel like dancing right now. I'm a sad woman, you know? And what I understood as I, you know, probably in like starting week 6 of this kind of disintegration period, was that what they meant is like, don't struggle against what you think you're losing. It really is the law of polarity, right? We're natural manifestors. We don't need practice in manifesting. What we need practice in is letting go. Hello, raise your hand out there if you're, you know, you have problems with control, you have problems with perfectionism, being the good girl. I mean, it's literally in our DNA. It's been through generations passed to us. And so when spirit starts saying, this is for your own good, this is what you're asking for, this will benefit you, and things start crumbling away, it's hard not to struggle. It's hard not to say, no, give that back. I need that money. I need that friend. I need this business. I need the joy. I need the laughter. I need the dating scene, right? It's hard to say, it's hard to let those things go. But what Spirit was telling me is that I need to dance in the ashes of it. And so I started noticing, right, one of the major tenets in Holy Harlot is pleasure as medicine. And so I was like, oh, I feel so heavy, this grief. Oh my gosh, how many ancestors' grief am I holding right now? It's so heavy. And then it was like, okay, well, is there pleasure there? And I'm like, yeah, it actually feels really heavy. And the heaviness feels grounding. And then, you know, it started to really help me understand that the less I resisted, the more it would open up. And I cannot tell you guys this enough. It will probably, it tracks to be a lesson that I learn over and over again, is that I hold on to things too tightly. I try to force, right? That's my masculine programming, my injured masculine, trying to prove and make things out of nothing. But I asked for this divine feminine update, and they're like, then this is what you need to do. You need to not worry how things are going to work out. You need to shake your tits, shake your ass, you know, twerk on the couch, you know, go outside in your purple wig. You need to be silly and use your pleasure and your laughter to break through these barriers into the erotic. And it was hard, but I really understand now that I don't care, or I care less and less. I wouldn't say I'm at the place of giving 0 fucks, but I have, like, out of 100, maybe 2 left. When that friend brought to me my biggest fear, which was them, you know, finally being seen and noticed and then being rejected. When that friend brought that to me, set it at my table, I was like, okay, the worst has happened. The absolute worst has happened, Mary Lisa. Someone saw you for who you were and they said no thanks. Like, clean your hands and move on. And to not struggle, right, is like, okay, you can mourn something, you can be sad over something, but the more you decide to make it your blessing, the quicker it can transform. That's what alchemy is. Alchemy, that's what Tantra is. It's about taking the pain and gyrating over it until it turns into pleasure. If I'm being honest, that initial ceremony was all, it was all, okay, we're getting really real here. It was all very sexual. It was all very like the visuals, mama, the panthers, the snakes, the ice goddesses. They were dancing on top of me, and I would try to ask questions, being like, "How can I become a miracle healer? And when will this happen in my business?" And they would just giggle and dance on top of me. And they were like, "Shut up, let go, dance, enjoy." And that was that's what I saw in ceremony. And then obviously I had to make this big integration phase. And, it just, well, that will be it. That's part of the lesson that I learned, is that it's all coming back to sex magic. But, oh yeah, that is the last lesson. So let's, let's talk about it. The last lesson, lesson 6, is that sex changes everything. And I'm not talking penetrative sex, right? I'm talking about the energy of sex, the energy of eros, of pleasure, of sensuality. It changes everything. And so once I started feeling better, mid-August into September, that's when I had more access to, try the other tenets that I've learned. And it finally felt accessible to me. I wasn't as sad anymore. My nervous system had repaired. I gave it enough space to process all these emotions. And then when I started channeling again, it just kept talking about sex and pleasure. And I was like, yeah, I get it. And they're like, no, Mary Lisa, prove it to yourself. Prove it to yourself. Be the researcher. So I started, I would start each morning with like a slow song, and I would move really slowly. And I would touch my neck real slowly. And I would rub my tummy real slowly using ghost touch. And I would feel the erotic nature rise through my body. And then I would just start laughing, and okay, 5 minutes of that, and then I would go about my day. And I want to say in less than 2 days, and probably 72 hours, opportunities up the yazoo started happening. I got 2 opportunities to do work with groups here in Portland, because I've been asking for more of a community base and less online. And I got asked to be featured in a newspaper, and I got tickets to a concert with a friend. They like randomly texted me and were like, hey, come to this concert with me. Like, they just start adding up. And it was just little moments, little tiny moments. Like, I'm walking my dog after I just have my little sexy embodiment dance, like giggling to myself about my erotic nature. And I take Sullivan for a walk. And I'm walking past these 2 women, one older and then one kind of middle-aged. And I smile and, say something. But then I walk past her and she grabs my arm, the middle-aged woman, and she's like, oh my gosh, you're Mary Lisa. I just want to say I follow you, and like your work has changed my life. And I'm going to cry here, but I was able to hold it together while I was talking to her. I was like, what's your name? Like, that's so cool. Thank you. And let's connect. And after I walked away, obviously, if you don't know me, I started bawling my eyes out because I was just so grateful. I felt so abundant, and it just, for all the darkness that I went through, I don't want to say none of it mattered, but it was literally the most beautiful medicine. It really just made me so much more me. It helped cracked away the last remnants of perfectionism. And not to say that I don't ever engage in it, I still catch myself, but there's really so much beauty in the breakdown. And I think that, obviously I could talk on and on about the biochemical reactions of pleasure and sexual and erotic nature and how that heals without us ever having to journey into the pain. But it really is alchemical. It's magical. It's straight magic. Just a few minutes of kind of giggling erotic energy and boom, I get whacked with like the most potent encounter that, it wasn't anything like, here's $1 million. It was just like spirit was like, let's, put these two on path together just to let them feel seen. And that was so, so beautiful for me. And coming out on the other side, I was kind of mostly feeling like myself since the beginning of September. And what I really realized is that I cannot be perfect in order to deliver medicine. What I can be is authentic. I can authentically deliver medicine. And it really has made me just such a more potent healer. I had this session today with this lovely woman who we ended up journeying into her inner child, and we were in the amniotic fluid of the cosmic mother, and she was crying and crying and crying, and we were sorting through and releasing and picking up and reintegrating. It was just like, wow, I would have had to concentrate really fucking hard to take her there before, but it just, we were just led there by the miracle of our coexistence, And if I could just end on one thing, it is again that I'm learning how to be imperfect, and it's been the most medicinal, rewarding part of my journey. And the absolute love that I've received from my friends and my family through this. A lot of them don't even understand what I do for work, but the fact that I can just talk and cry and, just be my wild, raw self, it's healed a lot of not only my inner child, but the inner childs of many of the women that I carry inside my body. And I just want to say that if you experience any dark times in the future, or you're going through one right now, number one, let somebody in. Be absolutely dedicated to your phoenix. Let the ashes burn, because when you adopt the idea that all things are only for your benefit, that's when you quantum jump into that reality, not before. And I struggled a lot with that. I was like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Give me answers. Give me a timeline. What am I doing wrong? And that kind of prevented me from, I would say, getting out of it as quickly as I wanted to. But that's why I needed to learn that lesson, that none of those questions matter. They don't. It really is just about like, how thoroughly can I show up and dance in the mess that is me, and be seen for who I am. And it just, shout out to the women in my life. You know who you are. I'm not going to cry. Okay, I'm going to cry. When I showed up as who I am, like flawed, with pains, a lot of it was to my clients who were like, merely say, you're being funny, or what's going on. And when I let them know, the amount of like, girl, no one expects you to be perfect, like the amount of support and love that I received from clients and family and friends, it was just like so soul healing. So thanks for coming along this journey with me. I know you guys can be listening to and watching so many other things out there in the world, and I guess just this journey of new earth where we are the living, breathing medicinal code, where community is more important than ever, when being our raw, authentic, powerful self is what we all need. I'm with you. I'm totally with you, and I love you so much, and you are so needed. And if I get to experience your light in person, I just want to say thank you for being you. And yeah, I guess until next time, you guys.